Stop running after people who refuse to acknowledge you, because every step towards someone who won't value you is a step away from your own self-worth. A hard truth about human behavior is this: pursuit rarely earns appreciation. It usually erodes your worth in someone else's eyes. The harder you chase a person who has already chosen to keep their distance, the more control you hand them. But the instant you stop chasing, something shifts. You reclaim your focus, your confidence, your calm. That's why choosing to stop chasing people who ignore you is one of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make. The uncomfortable reality about human nature is simple. The more frantically you pursue someone who has decided to shut you out, the more you diminish your own worth in their eyes. This has nothing to do with how smart, kind, or valuable you actually are. It's pure psychology. People read behavior, not words. When your actions keep signaling that you're willing to give up your time, your calm, and your dignity just to get a scrap of someone's attention, you're quietly telling them their attention outweighs yours. That's the moment the power balance tips. Most people never see this because they mistake persistence for love and effort for loyalty. They think if they just keep trying, keep explaining, keep proving themselves, the other person will eventually wake up to their worth. But respect isn't born from relentless pursuit. It's born when someone sees that you respect yourself enough to notice when your effort isn't being returned. There's a real difference between fighting for a healthy relationship and chasing someone who's already decided to stay distant. One builds connection, the other quietly erodes your confidence. As the author Robert Greene often points out, people judge strength by actions, not intentions. You might believe you're demonstrating commitment, but commitment without mutual respect stops looking like strength. It starts looking like emotional dependency. Desperation is never rewarded by human nature, because desperation signals fear of loss, even if what you're losing is yourself. And once someone senses that fear, they gain leverage over you they never had to ask for. Consider what actually happens when someone leaves your message unanswered. In that moment, nothing has truly changed except the silence. Yet your mind starts inventing explanations. Maybe they're upset. Maybe they've lost interest. Maybe you said the wrong thing. Instead of returning to your own life, you get pulled into a spiral of possibilities. So you send another message, hoping it will ease the anxiety. But you're not solving anything, you're feeding it. Every attempt to force a reply gives the other person more control over how you feel, because your peace now hinges on something they get to decide whether or not to give you. Strong people refuse to live this way. They recognize that attention is one of their most valuable resources, and every minute spent chasing someone who repeatedly ignores them is a minute stolen from building something better. Instead of asking, "How do I get this person to notice me?" they ask a far more useful question: why am I pouring so much energy into someone who's shown so little interest in returning it? That single shift changes everything, moving your focus from seeking approval to guarding your self-respect. There's another lesson buried in all this. People show their real priorities through consistent behavior, not through occasional words. Anyone can promise to change when they're afraid of losing access to you. Anyone can offer fleeting attention when it suits them, but consistent behavior tells the real story. If someone keeps overlooking you while still expecting you to be available, they are showing you precisely how much they value the connection. Strong-minded people notice these patterns. They stop excusing behavior that has already become predictable. Rather than arguing with reality, they accept it and act to protect their own peace. This doesn't mean becoming cold or giving up on people altogether. It simply means you stop forcing connections that require sacrificing your own dignity. Self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't demand to be noticed. It quietly steps away from situations where appreciation has vanished. It understands that your worth doesn't grow because someone finally pays attention to you. Your worth was never in question. The only error was thinking someone else's attention was needed to confirm it. Ironically, The moment you stop chasing is often the very moment clarity arrives. The mental noise begins to quiet, your thoughts settle, your energy flows back toward your goals, your growth, your own future, instead of orbiting someone else's decisions. Whether they ever change becomes far less important because your happiness is no longer measured by their response. That's where real freedom begins. You stop asking people to choose you because you've finally chosen yourself. Remember this, people who genuinely value your presence rarely make you compete for their attention. Healthy relationships rest on mutual effort, mutual respect, and mutual appreciation. When all the effort flows from one side, the relationship slowly turns into a burden instead of a source of strength. Walking away from that imbalance isn't giving up. It's refusing to lose yourself while trying to hold on to someone who has already shown you exactly where you stand. And once you stop chasing people who ignore you, the next challenge appears, learning how emotional detachment protects your peace, because no one can manipulate someone whose self-worth is no longer tethered to another person's attention. Learning to let go emotionally. The moment you stop chasing someone, a new challenge shows up right away. Even after your actions change, your emotions often lag behind. Your hands may have stopped typing messages, but your mind is still waiting for a reply. You may have stopped calling, yet you still wonder if they think about you. This is where most people stumble. They assume that walking away is the whole job. In reality, the bigger battle is learning to detach emotionally. Because as long as your happiness is tied to someone else's attention, they still hold power over you, even after they've left your life. Emotional detachment gets misunderstood often. Many assume it means becoming cold or unable to care for others. That isn't true. Genuine emotional detachment means refusing to let someone else's choices dictate your sense of self-worth. It means accepting that you can't control who stays, who leaves, or who chooses to value you. The only thing truly within your control is your own response. Once you grasp that, you start reclaiming power you didn't even realize you'd given away. Robert Greene has repeatedly shown that the strongest people aren't the ones who control others. They're the ones who master themselves. Human nature has a predictable pattern. People test emotional boundaries instinctively. Some ignore you just to see if you'll chase. Some withdraw affection to see if you'll panic. Others create distance simply to gauge how much influence they hold over your emotions. They may never say it out loud, but their behavior tells the truth. If every small shift in their mood immediately rattles your emotional state, they learn that your peace depends on them. And that's power they never earned. Think about how often people become trapped in their own thoughts after being ignored. They replay conversations over and over, hunting for a mistake that may never have happened. They imagine alternate outcomes. They convince themselves that one more message, one more explanation, one more chance will fix everything. Weeks pass, and their attention stays locked on someone who has already chosen distance. They keep moving forward physically, but mentally, they're frozen in place. This is exactly why emotional attachment can be more damaging than rejection itself. It keeps you tied to someone who is no longer tied to you. Strong-minded people understand something different. Closure isn't always something someone else hands you. Sometimes it's a decision you make on your own. It's the moment you stop asking why someone failed to see your worth and start asking how you can rebuild appreciation for your own life. That shift changes everything. Instead of burning energy trying to decode someone else's behavior, you redirect it toward becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. You stop living inside their world and return to building your own. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing their worth shrinks because someone ignored them. But another person's failure to see your value doesn't lower your value, it only exposes their priorities. Picture carrying a diamond into a room full of people who don't understand what it is. The diamond doesn't become less valuable just because no one in that room appreciates it. Its worth stays exactly the same. In the same way, your character, integrity, and potential don't vanish because one person chooses not to see them. The real mistake isn't being ignored. It's letting someone else's opinion become the measuring stick for your identity. This is why emotional detachment builds genuine confidence. Confidence isn't believing everyone will like you. It's knowing you'll be completely fine even if they don't. It's understanding that rejection isn't proof you're inadequate. Often it's simply proof that two people belong on different paths. The strongest people don't waste their lives trying to force closed doors open. When sincere effort still leaves a door shut, they stop knocking and turn toward opportunities that welcome them instead. There's another psychological truth here. The less you depend on outside validation, the more emotionally steady you become. Praise stops inflating your ego, and criticism stops shattering your confidence. Someone's silence no longer triggers panic, because your peace is no longer on loan from other people. You wake up each day with a sense of direction that comes from within, not from waiting on someone else to set your mood. That kind of inner steadiness can't be manipulated because it's built on self-respect instead of approval. None of this means giving up on relationships. Healthy connections remain one of life's true blessings. But healthy relationships are built on mutual effort, not emotional dependence. They fuel growth instead of insecurity. They create peace instead of constant worry. They're rooted in choice, not desperation. The moment a relationship demands you keep sacrificing your dignity just to survive, it has already stopped serving your future. Once you master emotional detachment, you find a freedom chasing never could have given you. You stop begging for attention, realizing your attention is too valuable to hand to people who won't appreciate it. You stop fearing rejection because your identity is no longer tied to someone else's approval. And with your emotions finally free from those who ignore you, the next lesson awaits: the power of silence. Because what you choose not to say often carries more strength than anything you could explain. The discipline of silence. Once you've stopped chasing and started mastering detachment, there's one habit that will protect your peace more than almost anything else. Most people assume every misunderstanding deserves an explanation, every rejection deserves another conversation, and every cold response deserves one more attempt to smooth things over. But that's not how human nature actually works. The more you try to convince someone to value you after they've repeatedly shown indifference, the weaker your position becomes. Eventually, silence carries more weight than words, because silence refuses to beg for something that should have been given freely: respect. One of the biggest mistakes people make after being ignored is thinking they can change someone's feelings through endless explanations. They write long messages defending their intentions, justifying every action, hoping that once the other person truly understands, everything will return to normal. But real respect isn't manufactured through explanations. If someone genuinely values you, honest conversation can strengthen the bond. But if they've already decided to ignore you, another explanation rarely shifts much. It usually just signals that you're afraid of losing their approval. Robert Greene often teaches that mystery holds a unique kind of influence, because people are naturally drawn to what they can't fully grasp. The moment you stop over-explaining yourself to people who've already stopped listening, you break the pattern they were counting on. They expected another message, another apology, another attempt to hold on. Instead, they meet silence. Not silence born of anger or spite, but silence born of self-respect. That distinction changes everything. You're no longer trying to steer their opinion, you're simply refusing to spend energy where it no longer counts. Consider how often people lose arguments they never needed to enter. Someone misjudges them, spreads a rumor, or questions their worth, and they feel compelled to respond immediately. Before long, they're stuck in conversations that consume hours, days, even months of emotional energy. The real issue isn't the disagreement, it's the belief that everyone deserves access to your explanation. Strong-minded people understand that not every opinion demands a reply, and not every misunderstanding requires correction. Sometimes the loudest answer is letting your character speak instead of your words. Silence often gets mistaken for weakness because it looks passive from the outside. In truth, it takes real discipline. The discipline to resist defending yourself, to resist the pull of winning every argument, to resist the urge to prove your worth to someone else. Anyone can react emotionally. Very few can stay calm when their ego is under attack. That calm is exactly what separates emotionally mature people from those constantly steered by others' behavior. There's another hidden truth in silence. Every emotional reaction teaches people how to control you. If someone ignores you and you immediately chase, they learn distance makes you pursue. If someone criticizes you and you rush to defend yourself, they learn criticism hijacks your attention. If someone withdraws approval and you panic, they learn your confidence hinges on their acceptance. But when your response stays calm, measured, and deliberate, those patterns lose their grip. People can no longer predict your emotions because your choices are no longer steered by fear. None of this means abandoning honest communication. Silence should never replace honesty in relationships built on mutual respect. If someone genuinely cares about you and a misunderstanding arises, an honest conversation is often the right path. But there's a real difference between talking with someone who wants to understand you and repeatedly justifying yourself to someone who's already chosen indifference. One builds trust, the other slowly chips away at your dignity. Wisdom lies in recognizing which is which. Another reason silence carries such weight is that it makes room for reality to show itself. Once you stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop forcing conversations, people's true intentions become impossible to hide. Those who genuinely value you will make the effort to understand. Those who only wanted your constant attention will quietly fade away. That realization can sting, but it also brings clarity, and clarity always beats false hope, because it lets you pour your energy into relationships built on mutual respect rather than one-sided effort. Many people fear silence, mistaking it for defeat. They think that if they stop talking, stop explaining, stop chasing, they've somehow admitted they lost. But real defeat is losing yourself while trying to convince someone else of your worth. Away from endless explanations isn't surrender. It's a decision to protect your peace instead of sacrificing it for a moment of validation. The strongest people know that dignity isn't preserved by winning every conversation, but by knowing which conversations aren't worth having anymore. Eventually, silence becomes more than just an absence of words. It becomes proof of inner confidence. It shows your identity no longer hinges on someone else's opinion, and that your self-respect outweighs your need to be understood by everyone. Once you reach that point, you stop chasing people who ignore you, because your energy is invested in something far bigger than their approval. And once silence reflects your confidence rather than your pain, the next step is building a purpose so meaningful that you no longer have time to chase people who've already chosen to walk away. Building a purpose bigger than approval. After you've stopped chasing, mastered emotional detachment, and learned the discipline of silence, one question remains. What do you do with all the time, energy, and attention you've reclaimed? If you simply stop chasing without giving your life new direction, you leave behind an empty space your old habits will eventually refill. That's why the next step isn't just walking away from the wrong people, it's walking toward a purpose so meaningful it becomes impossible to waste your life chasing those who've already chosen distance. One of the biggest reasons people keep chasing others isn't that they truly need those relationships. It's that nothing bigger is pulling them forward. When your life lacks purpose, every rejection feels like the center of your world. Every unanswered message becomes a crisis. Every person's opinion carries more weight than it should, because your identity has no sturdier foundation. But when your life runs on meaningful goals, personal growth, and a clear vision, something remarkable happens. Other people's decisions stop dictating your emotional state, because your attention is invested in something far bigger than their approval. Greene frequently points out that history's most influential figures were deeply devoted to a purpose beyond fleeting emotion. They understood attention is finite. Every hour spent on pointless conflict is an hour stolen from mastery, Every day spent trying to convince someone of your value is a day not spent becoming someone whose value speaks for itself. They didn't become extraordinary by avoiding rejection, they became extraordinary by refusing to let rejection derail their mission. Picture two people facing the same disappointment. Both get ignored by someone they care about. The first spends weeks replaying conversations, checking their phone, imagining different outcomes, wondering what they could have done differently, trapped in a loop of emotional dependence. The second feels the same sting, but after acknowledging the pain, returns to their goals, reading, learning, training, building, creating, improving. Months later, the gap between them is unmistakable. One is still waiting for validation. The other has built a stronger life by redirecting their energy instead of wasting it. This is one of the hidden truths of personal power. The energy once spent chasing people can become the very fuel that transforms your future. Imagine what would happen if every hour spent worrying about someone who ignored you went instead toward learning a valuable skill, improving your health, strengthening your discipline, or creating something meaningful. The results wouldn't show up overnight, but over time they'd completely reshape your confidence. And confidence earned through progress is far sturdier than confidence borrowed from someone else's attention. Many assume success automatically earns respect through money, status, or recognition. Those things do shape how people respond to you, but the deeper reason success changes your presence is psychological. A person with purpose carries themselves differently. They speak with more certainty because their identity no longer depends on being liked by everyone they meet. They grow more selective with their time because they understand its value. They stop chasing every scrap of approval because they're already committed to something that gives their life meaning. That quiet certainty becomes visible long before external success ever arrives. Purpose also shields you from emotional manipulation. Someone without direction gets easily rattled by criticism, rejection, or fleeting praise. But someone who wakes up each day with a clear mission understands that these things are minor interruptions, not permanent roadblocks. Instead of reacting on impulse, they ask themselves one simple question: will this matter 5 years from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. And that realization frees their attention to return to the work that genuinely shapes their future. There's another lesson buried in this principle. Purpose teaches patience. When your whole world revolves around one person's attention, you crave instant answers, instant replies, instant reassurance. But meaningful goals demand long-term thinking. They remind you that real growth builds slowly through consistent effort, not emotional urgency. The more committed you become to growing stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, the less appealing chasing people becomes. You start seeing it for what it is, a distraction from the life you're capable of building. None of this diminishes relationships. Healthy relationships remain one of life's greatest gifts, but they should support your purpose, not replace it. The right people encourage your growth instead of competing with it. They respect your time because they understand you're building something meaningful. They don't expect you to abandon your future just to prove your loyalty. Once your purpose becomes the foundation of your life, your relationships grow healthier too, because they're built on mutual respect rather than emotional dependence. Eventually, you reach a point where your deepest fulfillment no longer comes from being chosen by someone else. It comes from becoming the person you once dreamed of being. Every goal achieved, every ounce of discipline strengthened, every challenge overcome quietly reminds you that your worth was never buried inside someone else's approval. It was always there, waiting to be developed through your own actions. And once your purpose outweighs your need for validation, you naturally stop chasing people who ignore you, because your future becomes far too valuable to trade away for people who've already shown they won't walk beside you. Watching actions, not words. Once your life centers on purpose rather than approval, another powerful lesson comes into focus. You stop asking why someone ignored you and start paying attention to something far more telling: their actions. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trusting promises more than patterns. They cling to beautiful words while dismissing consistent behavior. But human nature has always communicated through action. If someone repeatedly ignores your presence, keeps delaying time for you, or only remembers you when it's convenient, they're showing you exactly where you stand. The wisest move is to stop arguing with reality and let their distance teach you their true priorities. Many people get trapped because they fall for potential instead of truth. They cling to memories of who someone used to be, promises once made, or a future they'd imagined together. And because of those memories, they keep chasing someone who's already checked out emotionally. They tell themselves one more conversation, one more chance, or one more sacrifice will somehow bring back what's already changed. But strong-minded people understand a painful truth. Hope should never become an excuse to ignore what's actually in front of you. A relationship can't survive on one person's determination alone. It needs consistent effort from both sides. Robert Greene often reminds us that people reveal themselves over time. Anyone can make a great first impression, and anyone can say the right words when they want something, but consistency is what exposes true character. This is why emotionally intelligent people pay closer attention to repeated behavior than to isolated moments. A single mistake doesn't define someone, but a repeated pattern usually does. If someone keeps ignoring your messages, keeps canceling plans, keeps vanishing when you need them, or keeps expecting your attention while giving little back, those actions deserve far more weight than any apology that follows. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck in one-sided relationships is mistaking effort for love. They believe if they just keep giving more, the balance will eventually correct itself. But relationships don't grow stronger from one-sided sacrifice. In fact, the more one person carries the entire emotional load, the more unhealthy the connection becomes. Instead of building appreciation, constant chasing often teaches the other person they never have to contribute equally because you'll always fill the gap. Think about how much emotional energy gets wasted trying to hold together relationships that have already tipped one-sided. Every unanswered message stirs anxiety. Every delayed reply invites another excuse. Every broken promise gets forgiven long before real change ever shows up. Over time, you start lowering your own standards just to avoid losing someone who has already stopped prioritizing you. Without realizing it, you become so focused on preserving the relationship that you forget to preserve your own dignity. This is where self-respect matters more than attachment. Self-respect doesn't beg people to love you. It simply refuses to stay where love, appreciation, and effort have already disappeared. It knows your peace is too valuable to trade for fleeting moments of attention. Walking away from a one-sided relationship isn't an act of anger. It's an act of wisdom. It's the choice to stop investing your heart where your presence keeps getting overlooked. Logical truth buried here: every time you brush past obvious patterns, you teach yourself to distrust your own judgment. Deep down, you already sense when someone has stopped investing in the relationship. You notice the missing effort. You notice the emotional distance. You notice the conversations have turned one-sided. Yet many people silence that inner voice because they fear being alone more than they fear being unappreciated. The tragedy is staying emotionally tied to someone who has already let go. Strong-minded people refuse that path. They understand loneliness fades, but abandoning your self-respect can leave scars that last far longer. They'd rather spend time alone rebuilding their confidence than spend years begging for attention from someone who only offers it when it's convenient. They know peace is never found by forcing people to stay. It's found by welcoming those who genuinely want to be part of your journey and releasing those who repeatedly choose distance. This doesn't mean growing suspicious of everyone or bolting after a single disappointment. Healthy relationships require patience, understanding, and honest communication. Everyone slips up occasionally, and everyone goes through hard seasons. The real difference is consistency. Someone who values you will communicate, put in effort, and work to rebuild trust. Someone who doesn't will keep repeating the same behavior while expecting you to keep making excuses for it. That distinction becomes impossible to miss once you start paying attention to actions instead of promises. One of the clearest signs of maturity is no longer trying to convince people to prioritize you. You simply watch how they behave. If their actions consistently reflect respect, appreciation, and mutual effort, you invest further. If their actions consistently signal indifference, you quietly step back without bitterness. You stop chasing because you understand that real connection never demands constant pursuit. It's built through shared commitment, not one-sided sacrifice. The day you start trusting people's consistent actions over the stories you wish were true is the day you free yourself from needless disappointment. You stop wasting years waiting for someone to become who they've repeatedly proven they're not. Instead, you protect your peace, your dignity, and your future by accepting reality exactly as it is. And once you learn to let actions reveal priorities, the final step is becoming so grounded in your own worth that you never again feel the need to chase anyone for attention they refuse to give. Becoming someone you no longer chase for. Everything explored here leads to one final realization. The goal was never simply to stop chasing people who ignore you. Anyone can go a few days without sending a message or manufacture some distance for a while. The real transformation happens when you become someone who no longer feels the pull to chase anyone at all. That's the highest form of freedom, not built on pride, revenge, or proving someone wrong, but on becoming so grounded in your own worth that your happiness stops depending on someone else's attention. Most people spend years trying to become more attractive to others, asking how to get noticed, how to be chosen, how to make someone regret losing them. But those questions keep your focus pointed the wrong way. They make your life orbit someone else's decisions instead of your own growth. Strong-minded people ask different questions. They ask, how can I become someone I truly respect? They ask, how can I build a life with purpose even when no one's watching? Those questions build lasting confidence because they're rooted in self-mastery instead of outside approval. Robert Greene often emphasizes that true influence begins with mastering yourself before ever trying to influence anyone else. Human nature naturally respects people who are emotionally steady, disciplined, and self-reliant. They don't demand attention because their identity was never defined by it. Their confidence shows in how they make decisions, guard their time, and refuse to bend their principles just to keep someone interested. They understand respect isn't forced from others. It's quietly earned through consistent behavior. Think about the strongest people you've ever admired. Chances are they weren't constantly trying to impress everyone around them. They were focused, they held clear standards, they valued their time. They didn't abandon who they were just to fit into every room. They were willing to lose opportunities, relationships, even approval if keeping those things meant sacrificing their integrity. That kind of quiet confidence is rare because most people are taught to seek acceptance before they ever learn to seek self-respect. But the order matters. When you respect yourself first, acceptance from others becomes a bonus, not a requirement. There's another psychological principle at work here. People are naturally drawn to those who seem whole on their own. This doesn't mean perfection, it means emotional stability. When someone senses your happiness depends entirely on them, they often feel pressure instead of appreciation. But when they see your life already has meaning, your confidence is already solid, and your purpose already gives you direction, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer asking them to complete your life. You're simply inviting them into a life that's already full. This is why investing in yourself is the greatest investment you'll ever make. Build your knowledge because wisdom can't be taken from you. Strengthen your discipline because it steadies you when emotions get shaky. Care for your health because a strong mind grows more easily inside a healthy body. Develop real skills because competence builds confidence. Nurture genuine friendships because they remind you mutual respect still exists. Every step toward becoming a stronger version of yourself weakens the pull to chase people who've already chosen distance. One common mistake is believing that becoming valuable only means becoming successful in other people's eyes. People chase status, wealth, or recognition purely to impress the ones who once ignored them, but that's just another form of chasing. You're simply chasing admiration instead of attention. Real growth comes from a different motivation. You improve yourself because you refuse to waste your own potential. You build discipline because your future deserves your best effort. You pursue excellence because you want to live with purpose, not because you want someone to regret their choices. Eventually, something remarkable happens. The people who once filled your thoughts every day slowly lose their grip on your emotions. Their opinions carry less weight. Their silence stops triggering anxiety. Their absence no longer feels like a personal failure, not because they changed, but because you did. You built a life so full of purpose that there was no room left for unnecessary emotional dependence. You stopped measuring your worth by who stayed and started measuring it by who you were becoming. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can walk away from anything that costs you your dignity. It isn't arrogance and it isn't indifference. It's the peace that comes from understanding your worth doesn't rise or fall with someone else's choices. The strongest people know rejection is part of life, disappointment is unavoidable, and not everyone will appreciate them. Yet they keep moving forward because their identity is rooted in character, discipline, and purpose rather than temporary approval. When you reach this point, you stop fearing being ignored because you understand a simple truth. The right people never ask you to abandon yourself just to keep them. Those who genuinely belong in your life will appreciate your presence without demanding you chase them. Those who choose distance are free to make that choice, and you're equally free to keep building a future that doesn't depend on their recognition. So remember this: the next time you're tempted to chase someone who ignores you, your greatest victory isn't making them notice your absence. Your greatest victory is becoming someone who no longer needs their attention to recognize your own worth. That's where confidence becomes permanent, peace becomes natural, and real personal power finally begins.